30 minutes before this podcast, I was like, all right, I should get ready for this podcast, right? And then I was like, I stopped for a second. I was like, what does that mean? Like, how am I gonna get ready? I'm always ready. Like, there's never a point when I'm not ready. There's nothing that I have to rehearse. But then it's like, okay, maybe they're expecting this from me. Maybe they're expecting that from me. Like, do I come in with like a really insightful quote or something, like some grand realization? Or but then it's like, wait a minute, like I just have to show up, and then the rest happens. And that's that flow that just comes from not trying to be you, but just witnessing that you are you, and that like there's nothing that you have to do in order for that to happen. And if anything, when you start to do, you start to think, and then you start to get in that character mindset of, oh, this is the thing, this is what I think this character would say based off the expectations they have of me. And then like that's just a whole cycle that you're just not going to get out of that without feeling like more overwhelmed, more anxious. You just be grounded, be present, and let the rest happen. Let it come.
Now that's interesting. I'm just going to toss this in here quickly because it was a conversation I was having yesterday with somebody who was saying, I like to be prepared before I go into something. If I'm nervous about it, I like to prepare. I like to know as many things as I can about what's going to happen. And my response was, that just reinforces your fear. And they didn't understand. They're like, what? How does that reinforce my fear? It's because there's always more details you can't see. There's always more things that you may not have considered. There's always variables that you may not account for. And if you're so determined that to feel better, you must account for all those variables, you're always going to be afraid. You're always going to be anxious. And the response was, well, what's the alternative? I'm like, faith in yourself. Understanding you've never been totally certain. Up until this point, you're still here. You're doing better than you might think you are, right? Understand you've always adapted. You've always done the best you could, which doesn't mean don't prepare, but it does mean that there's a certain line where preparation actually becomes toxic. It actually starts to take you out of the situation that you're in.